I'm Mariana. I'm the Vice President for UKMSA. And today we have a very exciting event planned with our colleagues from Political Medics UK. And we will be talking about junior doctor pay restoration. As UKMSA, we are very passionate about advocacy for medical students and junior doctors, as well as making sure that we are helping you guys engage with current issues, which is why we have organized this talk. This talk has been pre-recorded for you, so we will be uploading this on our social media. But if you do have any questions about any of the content that we will cover today, please email us or get in touch through our social media. Without any further ado, I will pass on to our colleagues from Political Medics UK.
Thank you very much to UKMSA for having us on today. My name's Tabitha and I'm here with my colleague Marguerite today, and we're from Political Medics, which is a new organisation that we've started up in the last few months to really talk about political issues in the NHS. Today we're going to talk to you a bit about junior doctor pay restoration.
So if my screen will do it as it's told. So we're going to begin with a little graph, just quickly demonstrating what's been happening over the past number of years, building momentum for the current restoration campaign. So as you can see, around 2008, we take it as the ballpoint mark from where pay began declining with respect to retail price index. So you can see it's been a gradual decline all the way up until 2019, where there was approximately 90 million put in to try and, overcome this. However, you can see there's been another steep decline afterwards between COVID, cost of living crisis, which has added further momentum to the campaign, and consequently overall junior doctor pay has declined by about 26%. So this is what we're going to be talking about. As you can see, the BMA's got a lot of resources about it if you want to educate yourself more on it and perhaps become a campaigner. So I'll hand you back over to Tabitha.
All right, so our issue here mainly is that the NHS cannot afford to continue losing doctors at the rate that we're currently doing. Those of you who are interested in political matters and have been reading the news will be aware of the fact that we're seeing some of the worst staffing crisis that the NHS has ever faced. And this is why this is such an important topic. We really, as a body of doctors and nurses, need to do something about this. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a situation where the staffing gets worse and worse in the NHS to the point where it can no longer continue.
Yes, so how did we actually get here? So you've seen the graph that this has been going on for quite a long time, about 14 years to decline. So if you're looking at it in terms of recently, there was a 2% pay rise for junior doctors, and this is part of the multi-year pay deal. And it's multi-year because, there's different pay grades according to whether you're foundation, core trainee, registrar, etc. So junior doctors were guaranteed an uplift every year. And however, this uplift has been insufficient to compensate for, I'm sure we're all aware of the inflation pay, rises in cost of living, etc. There's been frequent pay freezes also. So this has all culminated in the take-home pay being estimated to have declined from about 22.4% in RPI between 2008 to 21. And this also takes into account tax and pension contribution changes. And inevitably, junior doctors are feeling demoralized and devalued by all of this, such that in a survey back in August 2021, a whopping 96.6% felt it was either completely unacceptable or even inadequate. And therefore, there's been a decrease in morale, and in an overall sense, they don't feel that the government are valuing their work, despite the fact that they've taken 5-6 years in med school, perhaps even more, depending on previous degrees, along with, potentially an extra 10 years in training then to reach consultant level, and yet they still don't feel that the government is valuing their work. So this has all led to the current pay restoration campaign.
So it can sometimes be quite difficult to work out the numbers with this, because we hear in the news about junior doctor pay rises and think that actually, well, if the salary is increasing, then surely that in itself is a good thing. And this graph really demonstrates the flaws with that line of thought, to be honest. So we can see the top blue line there, and that's junior doctors' salaries in cash terms, and we see that that has gone up. The issue is that it hasn't gone up in line with inflation, so that junior doctors' salary in terms of real terms has actually dropped, so that we're losing money and generally earning less money than we would have been in 2008.
So preparing for a ballot. Now this is inevitably just relevant towards junior doctors, but even if you are a med student, it's important to know these steps when you are talking to your junior doctor colleagues on placement and informing those who aren't as aware of the process to actually ballot for pay restoration. So basically, check that your contact details are up to date on the doctors' pay at bma.org.uk. Especially, there's a lot of moving around between, whether you're going from med school to being a foundation year, and then afterwards is, junior doctors tend to change address a lot. So it's important that your contact details are correct so you can actually vote. And of course, if junior doctors aren't a member, join the BMA. Strength of a trade union is only equivalent to how many members it has. So it's very important to join the BMA. Be informed of the implications of striking, so your rights, which we're going to talk about a bit soon in more detail, along with making up for pay loss, such as doing a few locum shifts so you're not down in pay because of it. And if you are, there is a BMA strike fund, and it would be good to let junior doctors know if they have some means to donate for that, to support those who actually need it whilst industrial action is taking place. And if you have any other queries about it at all, tell your colleagues to contact support@bma.org.uk.
So doctors, like other UK employees, do have the right to strike. They are under employment law protected to be able to strike, and the GMC has confirmed this. In terms of what you can expect from any legal repercussions of striking, there are legal protections from unfair dismissal for the first 12 weeks of taking lawful industrial action. So the first 12 weeks, you have quite a lot of protection in taking in striking and taking action. There is limited protection after 12 weeks, however, and that's something that's worth keeping in mind. It is possible that an employer could attempt to discipline you for striking. It's generally impractical and counterproductive, especially when there is a large enough cohort of people taking action at the same time. And that's one of the reasons it's really important that everyone comes together to do this together. If you are absent from work to participate in striking, it won't affect your work visa, and sponsorship cannot be withdrawn. But like Marguerite has mentioned, it will affect your pay, which is really why it's important to be aware of that and make plans for any strike action. And there is something that I think most of us do struggle with when we talk about striking is patient safety, and employers should identify emergency cover from within the ranks of senior doctors and other staff grades. So they do have a responsibility to maintain patient safety. It can be really hard when you're a doctor or a nurse or a medical student, and you feel that you have a moral obligation. However, employers are ultimately responsible for maintaining the safe provision of their services. It doesn't all fall on your shoulders. So members of the BMA will be balloted on the 9th of January 2023. So that's when to expect it.
Okay, so how to begin organising locally. So this page is relevant for all, but in particular medical students who often are asking themselves, how do I get involved in this campaign, despite the fact that you know, medical students or, you know, even consultants, etc., can't go and strike. So how can you become actively involved if you can't strike itself? So this method, you know, I heard from Dr. Emma Runswick, who's the current deputy chair of the BMA. So this is kind of what has been relayed to medical students to get involved. So when you're on placement in the doctor's mess or wherever, and you want to, you know, get people involved in the campaign, first of all, obviously go up and introduce yourself. You want to expand your reach, so talk to people that you perhaps don't know as well, and set the context for the conversation. So there's no point in, you know, delving straight into it if they don't want to talk about that, especially, you know, if they're tired after a long shift or whatever. So let them know in the beginning that this is what you want to have a chat about. Issues and agitation. So find out what issues are important to them. So it may be pay, it may be the fact that patient safety has been compromised due to staff shortages. Whatever it is, find out what annoys them, what they have an issue with, what issues they have with the NHS at the moment, and use this to direct the rest of the conversation you have with them. So vision and education, this is the plan to win. So we need to get across the fact that the whole reason you're going up talking to them in the first place is that every person counts, there's strength in numbers. So, you know, this is why organizing locally is so important. You can really make a difference as a med student by getting more junior doctors involved, because the more numbers, the stronger, and the more likely we are to be successful. So call the question, ask them, are they prepared to take action to win the issues they raised above? So there's no point in them being a bit ambivalent to it, agreeing with you, but in the end, their actual true intention is that they don't intend on striking for whatever reason, and they don't feel that they're going to make a difference. So call the question and have a bit of a chat about that. And then inoculation, so from that term, what do we mean by that? Well, it's actually in practice, how is it going to pan out for them? So if they seem positive about it, but then their boss reacts negatively, is a bit off-putting, perhaps even a bit intimidating about them, actually warn them about the kind of things they're going to hear. And often this will be about patient safety, which is a bit of a paradox of a counter argument by, you know, people who are setting the rotas, etc. Because if that was an actual issue, then they would care about the fact that there are thousands of doctors leaving every year and thus putting patient safety, compromising it. So, you know, kind of talk about certain things they may hear in retaliation. And then action assignment. So they may not, after you talking to them, they still might be unsure about it. So ask them, you know, what is their plan to take action? Make a plan perhaps to speak to other co-workers with them. And if they are a bit on the fence about it, to follow up with you. So, you know, don't just leave it there, so follow up.
Now, I absolutely love the slide because I think it really sums it up in a way that's easy to understand. And quite frankly, everything should be measured in Freddos. Doctors' pay, as we talked about before, has been going up in small increments in cash terms, but it hasn't been enough to keep up with increases in retail price index. What we talked about before was the real terms. So if you remember that graph with the blue line at the top and then the line going down at the bottom. So in 2008, Freddos cost approximately 17p. I don't know if you can remember that time, but I certainly can. F1 salary was 23,000. So you could buy 136,624 Freddos with that. In 2020, Freddos cost approximately 27p. F1 salary is 28,000. And we can buy 106,696 Freddos, trying to get those big numbers right now. So as we can see, there is a shortfall of 30,000 Freddos, and what this equates to is £8,100 short per year. Now, you're not worth less than you would have been in 2008. You're certainly not worth £8,100 less every year. And the BMA have calculated that there has been a 22.4% erosion in our pay. That's quite a lot of money, and people are struggling with that. It's contributing to quite a systematic devaluation of the profession, and as you can imagine, a decrease in morale in what is already a really tough profession to be in. If you feel that you are being paid less and therefore being treated as less worth than what you were, then you're going to feel devalued, and that's going to affect how you see yourself, how you see your profession, and that's really important.
Okay, so the DDRB, so what is this? It's the Body on Doctors and Dentists Remuneration. So the junior doctors were guaranteed a pay rise of 2% as part of the previously mentioned multi-year pay deal in 2019. So this is actually a significant 90 million investment by the government, and there was many significant improvements in fairness on the 2016 contract. However, we have to take into account that junior doctors were excluded from the 4.5% rise that other people within other professions within the NHS were given. And this was due to this whole multi-year pay deal that we mentioned. So the very fact that the pay groups are stratified according to training grade. And overall, this would result in an 8.2% rise over 4 years. So this is where the 2% comes from. However, this deal was concocted up effectively before the pandemic, before the big cost of living crisis and spiraling inflation that we're experiencing at the moment. So this overall has resulted in all of these factors with an actual RPI pay cut of 26.1%, even taking into account the whopping 90 million investment. And even so, that 4.5% rise I mentioned, even that would have been unsatisfactory. So other professions still have had a 6% pay cut because of this inflation. But, to compound this, level of betrayal effectively, they've excluded junior doctors from this. And the actual junior doctor committee themselves didn't take part in this review because of a lack of confidence, no doubt, in the process.
All right, so you'll see on this slide salaries in 2008 and 2021. And this is for all grades, really. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's really important to take a look at this and realize that not only is this affecting you, but this is affecting everyone, from F1s all the way up until consultants. It's really interesting to see the net losses here sort of shown out across the board there, and so I think it's really important that we all keep this in mind and remind ourselves why we are striking and why we are taking action.
And obviously this is the pay restoration campaign, but it's not just about pay erosion. And here at the Political Medics, we want doctors to start, becoming activists, advocate for the future generation of junior doctors, because, we are the experts in healthcare. So why don't we have more of a say on things like these? So, just bring it back to the pay erosion. We also have the loans issue. So you'll have seen some consultants perhaps during this campaign will be negative towards the pay restoration campaign. However, we have to remember that people in these grades only had to pay about £1,000 in tuition fees. So it's only doctors after 2010 that have had the 10 times the tuition fees effectively added. Then perhaps maintenance loans. They may also have other degrees, which is accruing even more debt. So this is another thing that we need to be active about, because there has been talks recently about increasing it above 10k, which would obviously really cut off the actual opportunity to study medicine for a lot of people. Then we have working conditions. So the whole point of this pay restoration campaign is patient safety, as well as valuing our hardworking doctors. So we have thousands leaving the NHS every year, and this in itself compounds the already bad working conditions. Doctors are demoralised, burnt out, facing a future in a health service that is overstretched and underfunded. So we need to be raising our voice about this and tackling this and trying to impact positive change. And costs, of course, the cost in medicine doesn't stop once you've graduated. Building a portfolio is a very expensive process. You also have excessive membership and exam fees, and many exams to take that often have high failure rates, which just compounds and adds to the costs. And of course, it's hard to escape in the news about the cost of living crisis, and bring it back to the doctor's vote example we saw previously. So this actually stated how nowadays the average house price is nearly 7 times that of a junior doctor's salary. So this, takes people off the housing ladder. And, often you can be a junior doctor well until your 30s. So really kind of infantilizes the profession, and, leaves for a lack of autonomy, and, people feeling like they're falling behind their friends. So this is another big issue. And of course, it's not just housing. We also have just essentially, it's amazing thing, but basic needs such as food. We have seen in a very recent BMA survey how some medical students and even junior doctors have been left with no choice but to avail of food banks. And if you're interested in all of this and you've seen the need for change, then there is an opportunity to become a junior doctor pay campaigner on the BMA website. And, just as a final point, we have powerful voices within society, so why not use it to make an impactful change, and, to actually voice, what people in our profession are thinking, liaise with relevant bodies such as the BMA, lobby the government, and impact positive change.
So we hope that this has answered some of your questions and made the pay restoration campaign a bit clearer for you. The situation can seem a bit bleak, but as Marguerite just said, we do have the power to make change together. I know that generally there is a negative feeling in the NHS at the moment, and it is really hard work after 2 years of a pandemic that we're only sort of coming out of at the moment, and already stressed underfunded health service. We do have the power to make a change, and we hope that if you decide that striking is something that you believe in and you want to get involved with, that this has helped you understand a bit more about it. If you do have any other questions or want to get in touch with us, please do. We are Political Medics UK. You can follow us on Instagram or Twitter, and just DM us any questions you have. We always like to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.